Hi, and welcome. I'm Allison Corman with Big Sky Economic Development. Today I'm joined by Rachel Turley and Becky Rogers. Rachel's with Turley Dental and Becky's with Big Sky Economic Development. And today we wanted to cover the topic of how you bring your office staff back to work. We know there's a lot of rules and procedures and policies for restaurants, but when it comes to office work, it's a little bit different. And so we wanted to make sure that we provided some good resources and best practices from two pretty different types of offices. So I'll have Rachel start. Rachel, describe your office and how many employees and what type of work you do.
Sure. So I am the clinical operations manager for Turley Dental Care here in Billings. We have two locations. We have about 80 employees, and we see every type of patient, from little kiddos to our senior patients. So we kind of do all sorts of dentistry. We're a general dentist office, so we see everything from cleanings all the way to some orthodontics and restorative work.
How many staff do you have typically?
So in total, we have 80 staff, and we have about 20 per office per day, typically.
All right, I'll kick it over to Becky. Describe the office, our office at Big Sky.
Our office. Well, we're a small office. We're considered small. There's only about 23 of us in total, but only 20 for our in-house operations. So that's interesting. Per office size, we look very similar. And so we're a basic, I guess I call it basic business office, where we provide professional services, but we do have the public in and out of our office. We do serve clients and host a heck of a lot of meetings. So that was our typical office look.
All right, thanks. So Rachel, are your staff back in the office and or when they return, because I know it's coming up for you, what will that plan look like for how people are back in the office space?
So we're going over that right now with all of our staff, and we're trying to make it as normal as possible, but unfortunately I think the definition of normal is different now. So we're trying to make our staff feel as safe as possible so that they can take care of our patients and our patients feel safe. So we're taking temperatures of our staff. We are doing a lot of different cleaning measures in our office. I mean, dental office is already pretty clean anyways, but we're doing everything that the CDC is sort of suggesting to make sure that we're taking those extra precautions. And then that really does help our staff feel more comfortable so that they can come back in and not have to be concerned about that. And they can really focus on their job and all of, taking care of our patients.
Are you having all staff return coming up, or are you going to manage like shifts, or how are you managing that part?
Yes, so we have all of our staff coming back, but how we've done it to sort of protect and safeguard our practice. So heaven forbid somebody does have a positive test for COVID. We've separated our staff into two teams, and then each practice, I say our Shiloh location and our downtown location, each has two teams. So we don't cross over at all. So if one team gets sick, we can quarantine that team, split the other team in half, and we can still continue operations at the office while being able to serve our patients, but protecting our staff and having them be out of the office, if that makes sense.
That does. All right, now to you, Becky, how are you managing the return of folks to the office?
Yeah, what we've done is we originally, when everything got shut down, had a handful of people that were still considered essential for actually maintaining the actual office and could come in, and there was only 4 at that time. What we've done during this phase 1 approach is increase that to 10 individuals. And so what that means is the other 10 are still asked to work remotely, and there are 10 that can or are approved to come back into the office. However, with those 10, we are still staggering schedules a little bit, kind of for the same reason Rachel has talked about. Our goal is to minimize close contact, and close contact to us means within 6 feet and for more than 10 minutes at a time. And so by staggering schedules, we're able to just spread that out a little bit more during this first phase And then we anticipate with the phase 2 that when the governor says we're ready for phase 2, we can probably use those same techniques, but include more people into those rotations of that sense. But like Rachel, we are monitoring symptoms. We're a small office and we're non-medical individuals, so we were really thoughtful with how we went about that. And we're monitoring it. We're doing a lot of different cleaning procedures, and we have signs everywhere in the office, mostly for me, to remind us to clean your hands before you touch the water dispenser or the coffee machine or the fridge. It's important it's hard to remember to wash your hands more than you used to, for those little things. Not hard for the big things, but for those little things. We also put a lot of hand sanitizer and Clorox wipes in high traffic areas. So right as you enter the main staff entrance where people have touched doors all the way up, we now have hand sanitizer for the first thing you do. And then every high touch area, we also have cleaning supplies and hand sanitizer available at each of those.
So that leads into this next question. So Rachel, how has how an employee gets to work changed? Like, so walk us through like getting to work, what's different, what stages are implemented as they start their work day.
Sure. So basically we have one entrance that we're having all of our staff come through. We have a spreadsheet, and essentially they walk in the door, we take their temperature, we record that, and then if let's say they do have a fever, we send them right back out the office. And from there, then they come on in, they can get sort of started with their day, put their things away. We open up the office, so we have to turn everything on and all of that. The main difference is that it takes a long time to put all of that protective equipment on. Normally, that's not the case. We don't need to go out and grab a patient with a full mask and all of that gear on. So that is really what's going to take time to create a habit is, okay, maybe I need to get to work 10 minutes earlier so that I can get my things together and then make sure that I am ready so that I can go grab my patient with my mask and all of my garb on. So that's going to be the main thing, I think, is just getting used to the new normal. And we're all helping each other out. I think it's sort of been on the fly as we've been learning all of these new things. So everybody's been really great and flexible as we've been learning. We also have a lot of signs in our office too. Just reminders.
Not alone.
Yes.
So Becky, what does it look like for a staff member to enter at Big Sky right now?
So the minute they come in the door, we have the bottle of hand sanitizer. Hopefully it's a physical cue. Sanitize your hands. You just walk through multiple doors to get in here. Right next to that, we have this table with all of these sheets of paper flipped over, face down with a pen and their name assigned to each one. So because we're a smaller office, we're doing a symptom self-reporting that we then as a team go and, individuals designated go and check those symptoms each day. And we called Riverstone and talked to Riverstone about what should those screening questions look like. And so we mirrored what Riverstone is doing with their questions, and each individual signs off on the actually lack of symptoms, and then can go about their day. And so what we're trying to do there is, there's a lot of individual circumstances to consider, but if there's a conversation to be held, like one of our questions is if they've left Yellowstone County in the past 2 to 3 days. And if they have, that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing or that it means instant quarantine. But we do want to say, hey, what did you do? Some people just went hiking or fishing. But if they've left the state and spent a weekend with family outside of the state, I likely will handle that differently than I would just going out to the mountains for the weekend. It really depends on that contact that they see in that time. But from there, with that,
I was just going to ask you if you remembered or have the other questions. Do you have?
They involved if they've been in contact with anyone with COVID in the last 2 to 3 days, And then there's one that gives the actual symptoms. Have you had a fever, shortness of breath, respiratory illness, cough in the last 2 to 3 days? But that guidance is constantly changing. So rather than duplicating off of what I just said, I'd recommend everybody just call Riverstone Health. Their phone number is in the middle of their website. When you pull it up on the homepage, you leave a message, they get right back to you, and they will spend as long as you need on the phone with you answering your questions about your specific circumstances. And so from there, the day looks pretty normal for people. But we did close down a few of our staff or a few of our areas. We're limiting how many people can be in the break room together at the same time. So that changes their morning coffee routine just a little bit. And we've shut down 2 of our seating areas where we usually just sit and relax and collaborate. And the purpose of that was less close interaction and less cleaning. Every surface we touch, we have to clean. So we're saying, hey, don't sit here. We don't want to spend our disinfectant wipes on that area. We want to keep it in our high touch areas. So
we did that same thing with our team area. We've really limited how many people can be going in and out. So we have 1 to 2 managers, a supervisor and a manager on staff typically. So we really have to monitor that. It's definitely going to take all of our team together to make sure. I would say accountability is one thing we've talked about with our staff a lot, is we have to help each other to make this change. And so that we're really going to count on our team to make sure that there's not 10 people in the break room at one time. So we're really leaning on them for that too.
And the trust factor of, that they're caring, watching out for themselves as well as everybody else. I mean, we're very much trusting that they haven't been in contact with people and that they're being mindful of us as well as themselves. Allison, I thought to throw in some HR garb or language here because this is an interesting change. The EEOC, which is the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, I always mess those up. They're the ones that update guidance on the ADA, which is our Americans with Disabilities Act. They have recently updated their guidance and come out and said that it is okay for employers to screen employees for COVID-19, because that was really uncomfortable for me in the beginning to hear that we had to screen our employees in order to do this phase 1 reopening because of all the protected health information and their private things. But they did come out and say, yes, you may screen your employees for the reason that an individual with the virus will pose a direct threat to the health of others. So for those that are still wrestling with that, if you have an HR professional that you, like associated employers that you consult with, call and talk that through with them. There's a little bit, because it's a pandemic and because it's this unknown environment, we have been given that ability to screen for COVID.
So I know it's a little bit different with Big Sky, but Rachel, can you share with us how you are helping your customers feel safe from when they enter your office through having a dental procedure? What steps are you implementing?
Absolutely. So much like we're doing with our staff, we're going to be taking our patients' temperatures as well and kind of going through the same question process. We start it when we confirm our appointments. So we kind of start that process on the phone, just so that they're aware. I think it makes them feel comfortable also that we're taking those extra steps. Then once they get to the office, before we even have them come in, we have kind of a foyer in front of our office. We're going to go through those same questions with them. We'll take their temperature, and then we can have them come into the office and kind of go through the same process that they would normally. We've removed chairs. We have about every other chair now in our office, so there's space. We're trying to definitely respect that social distancing in our practice, and also just trying to get our patients back quickly so they're not having to wait in the waiting room. We have no idea what it's going to look like when we open back up. Are patients going to come to their appointments? Are they going to be fearful? So we're really coming into this just being flexible to just see what that new normal means for our patients, and is what they once wanted, is that still what they want, or is that changing? So it's really going to be, this is going to be just a whole new normal for us. But once they come back into the office, typically our staff will come out and grab them without a mask on. shake their hand, really welcome them into the office. We're trying not, shaking hands really isn't something that I think anybody's doing right now, but still trying to welcome them in. We are going to have masks on when we go grab our patients. So it's hard because we do a lot of smiling and talking with people. And if you can't see someone's face, it's really difficult to see how they're feeling and welcome somebody without smiling. So that's going to be a big change, but really welcoming them back in and going through the same processes. Our inoperatory processes are pretty similar. The one main thing is that the doctors and the assistants and the hygienists are going to look a little different because we have more PPE that they're wearing, so more protective equipment that they're going to be wearing on a regular basis. So aside from that, I think it's going to be as similar as it was before, but just with some safeguards.
Thanks. So Becky, I know we aren't seeing customers yet in our office because of the phase, but what considerations have you guys talked about for when we do return and have customers actually seeing us in person?
Yeah, we definitely have a large client base that enters our office and a lot of partners within the community. So at the current time, we're saying during phase 1, we're going to continue. What we feel is safest for the public as well is to continue our virtual meetings. We've learned how to do that very well in the last few weeks, and it's working well. And so we're going to continue serving clients virtually at this time. We've talked about phase 2. Reopening, and some of the considerations we'll make is where do they stand in relation to the front desk. We will set limits on the number of people that can be in our conference rooms, and we'll talk about at that time if we're ready to have, there's a lot of one-on-one counseling, but that usually requires people meet in smaller size rooms for that. We'll have to consider what's the best approach for that as well.
So Becky, you touched on it a little bit, but I'll ask Rachel as well. What resources have been the most helpful for you in tackling how to reopen your office?
Sure. So we have an executive team that we work with within our office. So it's the 2 owner doctors, Dr. Hurt and Dr. Turley, Cheryl Sell, who is our business office manager, myself, and then Rita Turley, who is our administrator. And between all of us, we all have people that we know in the community that have helped us, and also obviously the CDC, the American Dental Association, the Montana Dental Association, and of course we're just lining with what phases our state is in. So we're really trying to get as much information as possible. Also with Riverstone, we've been in communication with them as well. They've been super helpful because I think everybody is kind of confused on what the right thing is to do, and we're just trying to do the right thing and make sure everybody's safe and taken care of. So I think just using all of these resources, I think it's been really great. Everybody's really come together to help each other to make sure that we're getting taken care of. So it's been really fun to kind of develop new relationships within the community and also learn where to look for certain information. I know personally I've learned a lot through this whole thing about where you look for what information. So it's constant. You know, we open up on Monday, who knows, the information that we need is probably gonna be different on Tuesday and Wednesday. So we've really asked, you know, everybody that's on our team to just help us. If they know something that we don't know, share that with us, because we're really just trying to do what's best and take care of everybody.
All right, Becky, what resources have you tapped in this process?
Yeah, like Rachel said, it's been nice to have experts throughout the community just lend an ear. Just earlier this week, I was talking with the HR director of the school district, and we were thinking through a few ins and outs of symptom screenings. That's been really nice to have the community come together like that. My main 3, the info that comes directly from the governor's office, that's usually my first spot where I read everything there to make sure I'm understanding what that guidance is. My second call is usually to Riverstone Health because I want to hear the local lens for that. And then the third one, I'm constantly reading up on the Society of Human Resource Management. People call it SHRM. And they have daily updates, and they give a lot of great help, especially when you're not just about protecting the workplace, but trying to engage your team as you've had these interruptions in your workplace. They have excellent resources there for responding to COVID-related issues.
Thanks. So as our last question, Rachel, what has been the most challenging piece of this for you, and how did you overcome it?
That's a tough question.
On the fly, sorry.
No, I would say I just want to do the right thing for our staff, our team, and our patients. I want to take care of everybody and make sure that if I take care of the team and they're in a good place and they feel safe, then they can take care of our patients and the community, which is our mission at Turley Dental Care, is to, make sure that we're have a happy, healthy community. And so if I'm doing my job in helping our staff feel safe, they can do their job. So I think it's been hard to know what the right thing is, because there's so much conflicting information out there right now, because we just don't have a lot of information on COVID-19. And so really, navigating what the right thing is probably been the biggest, hurdle, I guess. But because we have such a close team, even though we are large, we've all been working through this together, and hopefully we can continue to share our knowledge, because everybody has varying levels of knowledge and experience. And so we're really trying to bring our team together and all of our brains, put them together, and hopefully do what's best for our practice and the patients and the community. So really just one day at a time.
I'll kick it to you, Becky. What's been the biggest challenge?
I'm going to start off that we had the very good fortune that our team was able to continue its work, where so many organizations shut down or lost parts of their teams during this. I want to point out that I recognize what a fortunate position we were in. And then that came with its own challenges, right? Because we had our entire team suddenly needed to work more. We were scrambling to help businesses as they were shutting down. And the biggest challenge there in the beginning was getting everyone up and running, working remotely, and then making sure we had put in place new routines and new ways of connecting as a team. And so I felt like we came together well in that process, and have done well in it. So I anticipate the next challenge will be reintegrating the team back. As Rachel said, in our office, we're calling it normal 2.0. We know the new normal is going to look different than the old normal. We're not quite sure what those elements are. And so we anticipate there'll be a bit of a hurdle there as well, trying to figure out, in the beginning, it was accommodating everybody's individual needs with school closures and daycare closures and remote work and technology. And then reintegrating that all back in, that's going to be an interesting step in the process as well.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys so much for your time today. And I know that I'll get your guys' emails if you guys are willing to answer questions for other businesses on this. We might send them your way, but we really appreciate your expertise and thoughts on how to open safely. And good luck on Monday, right, Rachel?
Thank you.
Yeah, and it sounds like you put a lot of thought into it, and it's always hard to not know what the right thing to do is, but it sounds like you guys have really forged a great path forward in making sure you're keeping your community and your staff safe and healthy. So thank you so much, and have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you.